Hoot hoot, I'm Professor Atlas, and welcome to Epic Facts for Kids. Let's fly through time to discover today's topic. Imagine walking through a cave and finding statues everywhere. Warriors, frozen in place, their faces locked in terror. Something turned them to stone. Something that lives at the end of that tunnel. Today, we're looking at 5 legendary Greek creatures and uncovering the truth the myths were hiding. Because the ancient Greeks didn't make up scary stories just for fun. Every monster meant something. Let's find out what. Medusa, the monster who was made, not born. Before she was a monster, Medusa was a mortal woman. Ancient writers described her as stunningly beautiful. She served as a priestess in the temple of the goddess Athena, a sacred place where she was supposed to be protected. But the sea god Poseidon wronged Medusa inside that sacred temple. And instead of punishing Poseidon, the goddess punished Medusa. Medusa was transformed, snakes for hair, a gaze that turned anyone who looked at her to stone. She was banished to live alone on a remote island, forever. The part everyone knows, the hero Perseus was sent to slay her. He used a mirrored shield to avoid her gaze, viewing her only as a reflection. And he succeeded. It's also about the danger of looking at something directly. The Greeks loved that idea. Some truths are so intense, you have to approach them carefully, like through a reflection. But what were the Greeks actually saying with this story? Scholars think the Medusa myth is about how powerful people sometimes punish the wrong person. Medusa didn't choose what happened to her, but she's the one who suffered. The Minotaur, the beast in the maze. If Medusa's story makes you feel sorry for the monster, this one might too. Meet the Minotaur, half man, half bull, locked in a maze he never asked to be in. King Minos of Crete was supposed to sacrifice a magnificent white bull to the god Poseidon. But Minos thought the bull was too beautiful, so he kept it. Poseidon was furious. As punishment, the king's family was cursed, and the result was the Minotaur, a creature with the body of a man and the head of a bull. Minos was so ashamed that he hired the genius inventor Daedalus to build an enormous underground labyrinth. The Minotaur was thrown inside. And every 9 years, young people from Athens were sent in as a sacrifice. Until a hero named Theseus volunteered to go in. With help from the king's own daughter, Ariadne, who gave him a ball of thread to find his way back out, Theseus defeated the Minotaur and escaped. The Minotaur represents the consequences of dishonesty and pride. Minos tried to cheat a god, and the result was a monster born from that broken promise. The labyrinth? That's the complicated mess you create when you try to hide your mistakes instead of facing them. And the thread is the idea that even in the most confusing situations, there's a way out if you plan ahead. The Hydra, the problem that multiplies. Pop quiz. You're fighting a monster. You cut off its head. Problem solved, right? Not if it's the Hydra. Cut off one head, and 2 more grow back in its place. The Hydra was a massive water serpent with 9 heads, and one of them was immortal, meaning it could never be destroyed. It lived in the swamps near a place called Lerna, and its breath was so toxic that even the smell could be fatal. The hero Heracles, you might know him as Hercules, had to fight this thing as one of his 12 labors. He quickly figured out that brute force alone wouldn't work. So he got creative. His nephew Aeolus helped by burning each neck stump with a torch right after Heracles cut the head off. That stopped new heads from growing. For the one immortal head, Heracles buried it under a massive boulder. The Hydra represents problems that get worse when you attack them mindlessly. Some challenges need clever thinking, not just effort. And sometimes, you can't do it alone. Scylla and Charybdis, caught between 2 dangers. Imagine you're sailing through a narrow channel. On one side, a giant whirlpool that swallows entire ships. On the other, a 6-headed monster hiding in the cliffs, ready to snatch sailors right off the deck. You can't go left, you can't go right. That's Scylla and Charybdis. Charybdis was the whirlpool. 3 times a day, she swallowed the sea and spat it back out. Scylla was a creature with 6 long necks, each ending in a head full of teeth. She lived in a cave on the opposite cliff. When the hero Odysseus had to pass through, he made an impossible choice. He sailed closer to Scylla. He lost 6 crew members, but the rest of the ship survived. If he'd gone near Charybdis, everyone would have been lost. That's why we still use the phrase, between a rock and a hard place. It describes a situation where both choices are bad, and you have to pick the lesser harm. The ancient Greeks understood that their heroes weren't people who avoided hard choices, they were people brave enough to make them. Cerberus, the guard dog of the dead. After all these terrifying monsters, let's end with one that's kind of a good boy. Cerberus, the three-headed dog who guards the entrance to the underworld. His job was simple: let the dead in, and never let them leave. 3 heads, no blind spots. The world's most intense security guard. Some ancient writers said he had 50 heads. Others said 3, with a mane of live snakes and a serpent's tail. But his role was always the same: keep the boundary between the living and the dead absolutely secure. Here's the fun part. Different heroes got past Cerberus in completely different ways. Orpheus played music so beautiful that all 3 heads fell asleep. Heracles literally wrestled him into submission. And Psyche? She just brought him a honey cake. That tells us something the Greeks clearly believed: there's more than one way past any obstacle. Strength, creativity, and kindness are all valid strategies. But Cerberus also represents something deeper. The Greeks saw death as a one-way door. Cerberus was their way of saying, some boundaries exist for a reason. 5 monsters, 5 stories, and every single one was about something bigger than a scary creature. The ancient Greeks told these stories thousands of years ago, but the feelings behind them, fear, unfairness, confusion, bravery, those haven't changed at all. That's why we still tell them. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss it, and leave a comment. Which monster from today was your favorite?